tourism, blue economy, because that's where I am. I think we've had conversations going on about what we really need to do, the potential that we have in the lake, and I acknowledge that even the chief guest during the morning session that side asked, we have something that we can show to the world, but we are doing 10% maybe. Because we have these conversations, but maybe execution of what we decide and discuss probably zero. But I reckon that as a player in the market, and from the time that we did, because as an institution, we did some survey on the number of tourists that visit Kisumu, maybe on daily basis, on monthly basis. We have quite a number of people. You look at school buses that flock Kisumu every Friday, probably, and where do these people go to? They only go to Impala Park, they go to Coca-Cola, they go probably to the airport. They don't go anywhere close to what we can offer in terms of the lake and everything. So as an institution, we approached the county government of Kisumu in terms of what can we do together to ensure that we have something to sell to the tourism. Because yes, I'm there, I have and I offer safe water transportation. And maybe I've not been in the business of tourism, but here is an opportunity and nobody's tapping into it. And because I come here with professionalism, I come here with safety, I come here with compliance to the maritime rules. There's something that we can do together, and I commend Madam Archie, because there are conversations going on, and I reckon partnership with the government, because there are huge projects that need to be done. We need to construct jetties, we need to do, and maybe the counties, not necessarily that they don't have money allocated, but maybe this money, maybe due to COVID, this money was diverted. But we can partner and see us move in terms of building these things and coming up with issues that we look at issues like pollution, because pollution in the lake is also a huge thing that we can't ignore. In as much as we are talking of, yes, we have potential for tourism, there are other things that we really need to address before we get there.
Thank you very much. And who would help us to address this? Who do you have in mind? Any partners?
I think the partnership with them, because there are policies in place. There are people who are supposed to implement these things, but unfortunately they are not there. The conversation stops at you people reporting that there is pollution. You know, nothing moves from there, because either nobody's taking responsibility, but when we do like plays what there's, me as an investor, you as a policy maker, supposed to enforce. If everybody is able to what they are supposed to bring on the table, I think it will take this place far. And I think I'm one person, Lillian here would attest, I'm one person who talks about we need to come together and have this conversation, discuss it, have solution, and act, because we can discuss and not act.
Before you leave, we need to call people to the table, yeah, and call them to order.
Yes.
Who are these that we must call to the table and call to order?
We have the county government, we have various ministries, we have the environment ministry, we have Kenya Ports Authority, we have Kenya Maritime. Kenya Ports Authority have been very responsive in terms of whenever we reach out to them in terms of we need maybe a landing facility, they have been very responsive. We have Kenya WS, who for a very long time we've had this conversation of we need them to give us access to Impala Park. The conversation is still ongoing, but a bit slow. But I think all these players, the blue economy is a conversation that everybody's talking about, but nothing is happening. It's me as a person who is involved there. Nothing is happening. We'll come here, talk about it. Talk about areas, talk about things that we need to do, but who is driving this? Who is ensuring that the talk is being walked?
Much, and I think we have mentioned people. The secretariat, I hope somewhere is taking note. We will have to call them to a meeting. Very quickly, pass on the microphone. Yes, just pass on the microphone to Mr. Eddie Orinda. And I want you to speak to this issue about linkages between Kisumu and Ukraine. What can we be able to do? What are some of the processes we need to put in place so that we are able to have more international tourists coming into Kisumu, and we are benefiting from the linkages that we are having. So please speak to this. Is this microphone working?
Thank you very much, Professor. And to all our distinguished guests, I'm privileged to have this opportunity to engage with you on ways and means of making Kisumu a lot more attractive for purposes of trade and investment. But Professor, before I respond to the question you've asked, I think I'd like to just go back a little and concentrate on your earlier question regarding why we are not making any significant steps, even though the infrastructure is there, the social welfare is being adequately addressed by the county government through the leadership of His Excellency the Governor, and signs of foreign direct investment and capital. I grew up in this county, so I've had the privilege of seeing it through the eyes of a child. I went to a local school. I am now a professional. I have worked in this county. I've now seen it through the eyes of a professional, and most recently through the eyes of an investor. One of the most important things that I have taken note of through that journey from childhood all the way to being an investor is an observation that global cities, and Kisumu is a global city, generally tend to have two common features. One is that they're very welcoming, and second is that they're very inclusive. Now, Kisumu is very well positioned based on the infrastructure that it has. And I'm happy to hear discussions about the blue economy and the infrastructure that's being developed around the lake and so on and so forth. However, I think we have to start from a very practical point of view. And that means we have to create a platform for that investment to take root and be inclusive for purposes of developing the economy of the county. And some of the things that come to mind, and I usually joke about this, I say this all the time, that if you want to go to America, if you want to go to the United Kingdom, to Sweden, it's all on TV, it's on the internet. And you can even get best practices from your online research and desktop research. But if you want to experience history and a wealth of experience in smallholder businesses and economies that have developed based on the same features that we have in Kisumu, including the lake, then you have to start looking towards Eastern Europe. And you have to begin interrogating the possibilities within the Commonwealth of Independent States, in countries like Ukraine, like Belarus, like Poland, and so on and so forth. It may be argued that Poland is now in the EU, but it still falls within the same circuit, fits within the same features that we're talking about. Now, in investments, particularly for counties like Kisumu, it would be very, very strategic and important for us to develop relationships with countries and cities with whom we share the same challenges, share the same opportunities, share the same features, and in many ways, culture. And if you compare Odessa and Kisumu, the first notable thing you realize is that both cities are centrally located around water bodies. Odessa is located along the Black Sea. Kisumu is located around the Great Lake Victoria. And that alone, if you look at history of cities that are located around water bodies, you realize that, and Dubai was mentioned this morning, that they tend to attract a lot of interest and investment. Now, how Odessa has done it is that Odessa for a very long time concentrated on being a very welcoming city. And over the years developed a relationship with different nationalities. In Odessa you have over 96 languages spoken, you have over 100 nationalities, and all those nationalities come with a wealth of experience and interest in positively impacting on the local economy of Odessa. They set up restaurants because they're now attached to Odessa. They set up all manner of businesses. They bring in expertise in the service industry and so on and so forth. And therefore, as Africa Trade and Investment Group, the practical step that we would like to take, and Professor, you asked about how we should this and where to start, is by first and foremost creating a sister relationship city between Kisumu and Odessa. And I'm happy to say that these are already gaining momentum, and discussions between our two excellencies in Odessa and Kisumu will soon materialize into negotiations that are going to give way for a sister city agreement. Now, when you have a sister city agreement, there are two immediate things that happen. And this is where I'd like us to be very, very practical and strategic. You have, for instance, chartered flights coming to Kisumu, as we've done with Mombasa, every fortnight. That means that our port in Kisumu, which is international, begins to then get busier. You have more visitors, you have a lot of businessmen coming in who, out of the love for the city, then would rather have a new home for their money and investment in Kisumu County. And that is how we begin to spur economic growth and interest in Kisumu as the destination of choice for investment from Eastern Europe. You'll realize that Eastern Europeans are looking for new homes for the huge investments that they have. You have high net worth individuals that no longer find investing in Western Europe attractive, or in America attractive. And we say that Kenya and Kisumu in particular is strategically located within East and Central Africa by its own features. You can fly into Kisumu, you can come in by road, you can come in by water, and what else? I think there's a fourth one. You can come in by rail most recently. And that's the same for Odessa. Now, when you compare Odessa and Kisumu, you realize Odessa is miles ahead. But this is precisely what the Ukrainian government is doing deliberately to make sure that people are attached to Odessa. In fact, it is not by coincidence that Odessa is called Odessa Mama, because it is home to everybody. It is home to thousands of investments, restaurants, and all manner of businesses. And when people have a relationship with the city, they tend to want to also positively impact on that environment other than the business they do. One way or the other, they will feel a local school needs to be improved, or a local hospital needs to be better. And we can get the military hospital in Odessa and the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga and referral hospital in Kisumu working together to build the capacity of the hospital in Kisumu. When you have better access to healthcare, you have improved healthcare, that all fits into the social welfare framework, which is also central to investments. So at a bureaucratic level, we're looking at signing the sister city agreement, and that is already gaining pace. The second thing, from a private sector point of view, because we asked about how we make this possible and how the water buses, for instance, can get more value. And you look back at Odessa and you realize that Odessa has decades of experience in shipbuilding and reconstruction. And we have a shipyard limited now setting shop in Kisumu to manage the newly improved port. That directly fits into the blue economy that we're talking about and creates jobs, brings in more investors, brings in visitors. Now, the moment this frequency of visits steps up, there will be a lot more interest in Odessa about what Kisumu is all about. And the more we have those visits, the more the relationships develop, the more interest grows in the very, very small micro areas of the economy that then become inclusive even for the smallholder businesses. So at a second level, we are working towards setting up a business council, a joint business council between Odessa and Kisumu. And that joint business council indeed should also act as a clearinghouse in finding opportunities like the one Madam has talked about, based on thematic areas. So you have tourism in there, you have shipbuilding in there, and it can be as specialized as restaurant sector and so on and so forth. And that's going to be a very, very practical way to begin to develop the trade and investment corridor between Odessa and Kisumu. And I'm positive that in another couple of years, that's a legacy that we can all be very proud of, that stems out of a relationship. In my experience as an investor, I tend to develop interest where I have attachment. Unless I'm a multinational that just has strategic interest in opening a branch, say in Kampala or Nairobi, something very particular has to bring me to Kisumu. And what is going to bring me to Kisumu is a friendship and the welcoming and inclusive nature of the county of Kisumu, so that it's just more than business for me. Professor, those are some of the ways we think as a company that we can make very practical steps in the next quarter or two.
Thank you very much. I think those are very good points that you've raised, and taking us towards the direction we are looking for. We will be able to get back to him. I hope you are taking down notes so that we will engage him thoroughly on the issues he has raised. Could you pass on the microphone? Very good. University.
Yes.
Strathmore.
Yes.
Is seriously known for economics and training in that area.
Yes.
But here you are.
Yes.
What brings you to Kisumu? What do you want to do?
Many things. Thank you very much, Prof.
Go ahead.
For having us. Greetings from Strathmore University. I'll start with an anecdote I heard from one PLO Lumumba. He is a son of this soil. And that time he was speaking about what we can do to make Kenya great. And he said one thing. He said, if Kenyans became more united and they embrace the loyalty of the little pride of the Luos. He said it was little, so I'll leave it at that. Maybe it has increased since. Then Kenya would be great. Why am I saying this? We have to tap into the strengths of our people. When I look at that banner, the great county of Kisumu, it's already tapping into that. But my question is, and I will, I'm here by the way with my colleague John Robert Ouko. He's a serious marketer. This event, we said, initially we were supposed to be at Mambo Leo. So when I called him, he told me now we have moved to a serious conference center called Sial. And I said, how come I don't know about it? And then we said, clearly there is the person in the county who is in charge of marketing. Sitaki kuharibu kazi yako, gap. So, Prof, it begins with all the good things that we are talking about, especially because we are speaking to tourism. If the tourists don't know what you have, forget it. So my question and my challenge, even to myself and to you, because now
cuisine from the original Luo people, they used to make fish on Ohigla. For you guys who come from Lulwan, they cook fish for several hours on a special pot. The food is excitingly nice, because we went on that exhibition with American tourists and they say, where else can we eat this kind of cuisine in Kenya? Kisumu does not have the local cuisine anywhere. So can we do that? Then we have walk trails along the Kitmikai up to Ndere Islands. That's a very nice range of mountains. Can't we do walk trains and tents that people could actually use along that train? So Ndere Island is sitting there waiting, etc. Lastly, you asked, how can we make this possible? I think one time I introduced Archie to a tourism consultant in New York. She's the one who did the Tanzanian tourism site, make it what it is today. Can we think of people like him and others so that we have much more than people coming from Eastern Europe coming to Kisumu. Thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you very much, Daktari. Those are very good comments, and I'm happy you are bringing in serious investment. I hope we will be able to get you land along the line. Can we pass this microphone to the lady in black? There's no one to do this. I'll have to walk around. Please just tell us your name, and then you can go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Mary Njoroge. I'm a guest from the county government of Kiambu. I'm the chief officer in charge of trade, industrialization, tourism and investment. I'm mainly here to benchmark. I'm a guest to the governor here. Kiambu is also a destination, but we are learning a lot. My contribution or my question is, I have quite a number and I'm excited about the panelists. I'm very happy with the panelists that came through. You've put across very good points. And I'll be inviting you to Kiambu soon, very, very soon, because I think these things we have to collaborate and exchange ideas and learn from each other. We are here to make Kenya a great nation. One of my questions is, as a domestic tourist who comes here oftentimes for conferencing, MICE especially, I try to eat fish, and you know, we Kikuyus, samak is not our staple. When I go to Dunga, I'm kidogo disappointed by the state at which it is at. And you know, Dunga is such a big deal. Those of us who come from the other side, when we come, we want to go to Dunga, we want to go to Kondele, etc., etc. We are very entrepreneurial. My other question would be, do you have a policy on street food vending? The people who sell us the fish, is it, as in, what policy do you have around it? I think you'll advise on that. And then myself and others, I normally stay at either the club because I'm reciprocating and I'm cheap like that, or any other place that is affordable. If it's the donor paying, I stay at Acacia Premier. Why is your club very dilapidated? What is the county doing about it? I mean, I would like to wake up and go play golf kidogo like this, or do any other thing. You know, Kiambu is very big on golf. We have like 7 courses, so everybody almost can play or do stuff like that. Please look into that. And then
relations now. So, but my question is, as a Kisumu County, have already developed a branding strategy that you have been working on, and that has what has built us up to the level where we are today. If you look at that poster, it's written Kisumu. It's something we are very proud of, and we go anywhere, it is a brand that is associated to many good things. On the branding, you said you're going to do it pro bono. We will wish to make we push this discussion to the next level so that we see what aspects of branding can you give to Kisumu. We are on the global arena right now, and we will wish to really take that one seriously on the side of Strathmore. The other thing that I wish that you build on at Strathmore is that we are coming to host Afri-Cities, the 9th edition of Afri-Cities. The hospitality industry is here. We are going to host over 8,000 of the delegates in Kisumu. Can Strathmore come up with an idea of how to do capacity building on this, our staff, beginning all the way from the budget hotels, to the taxis, to the standard, to the VIP hotels, on how we can handle the small little things that you're talking about. Yeah. Then the next question goes to my friend, Dr. Eddie Orinda, on joint business, this council. The joint business, the council, my understanding is that it's going to carry cross-section of many aspects of investments, and is going to bring different professionals in this region to build up on the sister city relations. Can you expound on what other aspects that we can harvest from Ukraine, the city of Odessa, in these regards? And you are willing and ready to have a technical team to really move with this one forward. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. I think we are moving well. Now, I was taking the first 4 so that we dig into them and respond to them. So who will go first? I know there is Strathmore, there is Orinda, then I will go to Morris, and I will also get to Achi. Yeah. So please, 1 minute, and this is 1 minute strictly. Pass the microphone to Marcos from Strathmore. 1 minute. Yeah, if it is yes, just say yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. On capacity building, yes, we can partner for our free cities. Let's have a session maybe after this meeting or maybe tomorrow. We explore that option in a spirit of win-win. On marketing and branding, I usually like to go for low-hanging fruits. And the low-hanging fruits I have already identified are, I think someone mentioned it, your marketing team, since you already have one, we come up with a Kisumu tourism circuit. All the things that you have mentioned, and he has mentioned, you have mentioned, he has mentioned, but they are all scattered. They're all in different places. The walk, even the moderator has mentioned about Kit Mikai and having, we come up and we can give you a team to do that, to come up with a Kisumu tourism circuit. So that when I'm thinking of going to Kisumu, I have 15, 20 activities that I can take part in. Whether I'm in Ukraine or in Nairobi, I know I can spend a whole week fully engaged.
Thank you very much. What you have done, which I agree with, is that you will talk to them on the side. You can work on the nitty-gritties of all those other things that will be done, then unveil it so that we will be happy that this is going to be a real experience for ourselves. Thank you very much. Pass it on to Mr. Orinda. Dr. Orinda, thank you for responding.
Thank you very much. I think in direct response to you, Gabi, let's set up the business council by the end of Q1 next year, because, as I said, unless we start focusing on building and strengthening relationships, investments and trade will not be sustainable. As an investor, I want to go where I have a relationship, where I have an attachment, where I feel welcome, where I feel there's inclusiveness, and where I feel at home. A lot of Eastern Europeans are looking for new homes for their money, and there are a lot of high net worth individuals there. There's a film academy in Odessa that's over 100 years old. Why would it be impossible to have a film academy in partnership with Odessa in Kisumu? So one of the things that I must emphasize is, if we're going to begin to open up Kisumu to the world and make it inclusive, we must be very particular on standards. And I keep insisting on those standards. When you come to Odessa, it doesn't matter the kind of restaurant you go to a small restaurant or a big one, they all have their own clientele. The standards are pretty high. You feel welcomed everywhere. And you can attest to this when you visit Ukraine, because I encourage all of you to visit Ukraine. It's one of the countries you won't see on TV, but you'll experience it. And to Odessa specifically, when you arrive, the kind of welcome and atmosphere that you experience makes you go back and leave all your money there. I want us to copy that, because unless we learn how to make people leave their money in Kisumu, Kisumu will be a very transient economy, salary-based economy, where people have money to spend after every 30 days. That's not sustainable. That's not attractive to investment companies and high net worth individuals. Let's build those relationships, and I must thank Minister Achi for the effort she's putting in together with Mr. Sendo in continuing with the sensitization workshops. I attended one and I felt that was very, very useful. There have to be a lot more of those, in fact, incorporating even the Tourism Regulatory Authority as a standards regulator, to make sure that, for instance, if I'm a late guest, as I had one at my restaurant last evening, no one leaves until they're ready to leave. Those are the sort of things we must improve on. If I want to go have fish at Dunga, can I enjoy my fish? It doesn't have to necessarily be an expensive place. It's not about the infrastructure, but are there standards in the kitchen? Is the food excellent? Is it of international standards? Do I feel it's hygienic? Do I feel it is welcoming? If we begin to improve on those small things, as Odessa has, and Odessa, remember, has a restaurant economy of over 3,000 restaurants, all busy throughout the year. How do you think they do that? It's a relationships.
Thank you, Eddie. Don't pass it there. I think the microphone is going to go this side. Thank you very much. I think these guys paid you, Odessa. You speak very well of them, They injected you with something. I think this is what we need to do. Yeah, this is what we need to do with people here, so that we can inject them to speak very well about Kisumu. Achi.
Thank you. Thank you, Prof, our moderator, and thank you to my panel and all the guests that are here. So I want to touch, as the CEC in charge of this sector, on what some of the wins we have made over the last 4 years. One of the things that I'm hoping out of this session we will get is low on the complaining and high on the this is what I'm going to do with Kisumu. Like Strathmore, thank you, sir, so much, and your colleague. Those are things we're going to lock down with you. Pro bono assistance with our branding, and also capacity building as we rev up to Afri-cities. And you've also touched on assisting in training and hospitality management. I do want to say the gentleman on my left here is Felix Owiti, and Felix Owiti owns the We Got Gardens Hotel. And last Tuesday, out of the same frustration that he was feeling that the region in general is not training the staff in the hospitality sector to a certain standard so that it's seamless, doesn't matter which property you go into. Last Tuesday, they opened the We Got Hospitality School as a partner, as an investor, saying, Kisumu, we see what you're doing and we want to help you. And we're very grateful for that, Felix. And I know you'll talk to that in a little while. So that's touching on an investor coming in and actually saying, I can't do any more talking. I've got to actually put my feet to the fire. And those are one of the great wins we have. The other one is, when we first joined government under Governor Anyang' Nyong'o, he tasked me on day 3 of the job and said, how are you going to market this destination? Because you've got, actually it was after a month, because each minister had to go out for a month in their sector, see what is available in Kisumu and, come back with a report. And my report back to him was that I wanted to establish Kisumu as a conference tourist destination. Why? Because I looked at the God-given infrastructure, Kitmikai, Luanda Magere, Lake Victoria, and I saw that that was going to be a big task to try and shape those. I needed a lot of money, and we didn't have it at that time. So I went for business conference destination, setting it as a destination, conference tourism. Why? A lot of people like coming to Kisumu. It's been so easy. That's the easiest part of my job. Because people seem to like the vibe in Kisumu. They like the culture of the people. They like the sort of relaxed nature. They also like our volatility, I will say that. They like who we are in this intellectual space that the region commands. But we've got great weather. We've got ambience because of the lake. We've got, it's kind of untapped as at least 4 years back. We were still quite virgin in so many of the economic ventures that the governor wants to pursue. So we had the international airport, was the other big win. And then we were sitting as the gateway to the 14 other counties, the LREP counties, the Lake Region Economic Bloc counties, the Vihiga, Kakamegas, the Nyamiras, all our neighboring counties. We are also now very confident that we are sitting at the gateway of the East and Central African countries, and I'll speak to that in a minute. So my task, therefore, once I decided we were going to be a business conference destination, was how do I then market that? Number one, I started going out with my team, knocking out on doors of the hotels, not hotels, of the airlines, and saying there cannot only be travel out of Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Can I bring on board an airline out of Wilson Airport? And our first one in was Safari Link. We're also very strong when we're launching. We launch big with our partners. Safari Link came on board. This year we launched Renegade. We had Silverstone as well, and they had their own financial issues and pulled out. We had Freedom Air, again, they also pulled out. But we go out actively as a department. We don't really behave as a classic government, at least I haven't, and my team try very hard to keep me on track, because I'm from private sector, and I think government has to go out to look for you. And government cannot sit and wait for you to come to us, because why us? In Kenya, for example, there are 47 counties. So we've gone out. This year we launched Renegade. We launched 748 out of Jomo Kenyatta. Again, in conversations with Jambojet Airline, we're saying, so what more can you do? And Jambojet says, do you think we could fly Kisumu, Mombasa? And we say, yeah, I think you can. And again, it's giving them that impetus, meet the governor, let them meet my team, giving them a conducive environment. I'm very accessible, and my team. Most of these guys find us anytime, online, midnight, doesn't matter. They know where to find us on social media or in the office. So then again, Jambo launched the Mombasa Kisumu. We call it Lakeside to Seaside. We also had done that with Silverstone before. So Lakeside to Seaside takes 1 hour and 26 minutes. I know because I use it. And now they fly daily. So again, opening up Kenya to each other. So going out looking for airlines. The other thing the governor pushed was for the Kisumu port to be revived. And that is substantive. And that's how now we see ourselves as the gateway to the Eastern African countries of Rwanda, Tanzania, Uganda, DRC, which is becoming a big economic hit for us in this region. So we're saying we've got sea coming. So we've also got the shipyard. Did you know? We have a shipyard where they're building ships. NV Uhuru 2 is being built here in Kisumu and will be ready for launch in February. So we chase national government, we chase US private sector. We do not really behave classically as, at least not in my sector, as a typical government organization. So with that, we will now open sea trade or water trade between the countries of the lake region. Apparently these things were there before in the 60s, so Governor Nyong'o is just saying, I used to do this as a child, and I would like to leave this behind for you guys. So we're very much passionate about that cause. And then also chasing again with national government, which is why it helps when you have a governor who has experience through the years in government. We launched the Kisumu Railway on Friday, and the PM will be also using that in a few days. Again, creating collaborations with Kenya Railways and saying, we want to be on that train. I remember as a kid being on it. I'd like to get back on it, and I will be in the next few days. So again, opening up 4 modes of transportation into and out of Kisumu and onto region counties. Let me talk about, the gentleman here spoke about a convention center. So again, Governor is saying 3 years ago, or rather I'm saying, it's for a national conference. I remember the governor at the time saying, Archie, how? I mean, we can go and pitch, but how are we going to run it? You know, do we have enough hotels? Do we have... And you know how it is, men in the room. You chase a girl even when you're broke because you like her and she looks great, and then you cheat us that you're going to be amazing and fantastic husbands. We fall for you, and then together we get married and we build that home. Same thing. We chased the AfriCity story. You've seen us market this project very heavily as a county government. National government are our partners throughout in this exercise, and with that comes road construction, road infrastructure. You will see that it's being developed aggressively from, let's say, Mamboleo to Muhoroni, and even a road from the airport to the Mamboleo showground without passing through the vibrant Kondele. So that's road infrastructure. We're also putting up and have already well on our way in terms of construction, the largest convention center after Jomo Kenyatta, after Kenyatta International Conference Center. So that is in construction. It will be ready by May when we have the AfriCity. So now, if I have a convention center of a few thousand capacity, I think it's 3,500, can't remember, then now, you know, any conference would want to come here because there's a conference facility. And then because we're creative, like my film producer was talking about, we've also made sure that it has an art gallery in there because we're creative like that in this region. We want to hope to have a theater in there, I mean, to celebrate the arts. Somebody was talking about a cinema. We have a cinema in Kisumu, but again, it needs another investor to come in and put up another cinema. So we've ensured that that is there. What we're lacking, and we're pushing, and there'll be a gentleman talking to that, is a sports museum to celebrate again our sportsmen who come from this region, those who have passed on and those who are still in there. How do we celebrate our culture? Sports is part of this, very much a culture of the people of this region. I'm just touching on a few things to give you the knowledge or the comfort that the government does stuff. This department moves a lot of activities for this region. I like the idea of the Western Kenya Tourism Circuit or the Kisumu Tourism Circuit. My colleague in government from Kiambu mentioning that when I'm here, I don't know where to go, kind of. So to that, we formed a parastatal. It's Kisumu's second parastatal. It's called the Kisumu Lakefront Development. and it is headed by Mr. Eddie Ouko, who used to be the Auditor General of Kenya. That already gives investors a lot of calmness because he has a track record. Now with that, we are beginning with a 26-kilometer lakefront development from Dunga moving round past the airport. That is on track, looking for investors. They will be speaking in one of their plenaries. I think theirs is tomorrow. Looking for investors again so that we can put up hotels like the Ukraine Odessa team are hoping to do with us, to put up cycling paths, to put up walkways along the lake, because the residents of Kisumu cannot access that lake. Did you know that you can't see the lake unless you come and visit me on 10th floor? Then you can see it from my beautiful windows. But mostly they're blocked by infrastructure, by whatever. And so the governor would like that place all opened up, which is what the Kisumu Lakefront Development Corporation will be doing. We'll start with 26 kilometers, so you can walk on there, you can sit there, you can skate, you can have restaurants, which we will be wooing our guests from Odessa. So again, in 4 years, we're moving systematically, each ministry trying to shape and model it. The whole vision being, there's elections in August. We'd like to come back, assume the residents vote our governor back. But we're feeling proud that work has been done. We're feeling that we still want to do more work, and hence the governor runs for the second term. The other thing is the collaborations with the media. We do a lot of collaborations with the media, and I can see some of my colleagues are here. Elizabeth Ogina there is always fantastic, always pushing our narratives in the media. And then we have our social media page, Spirit of Kisumu. That's where we started on day one, once the governor came, on anything to do with tourism, culture, sports. We look for your social media handles if you are in private sector, and we tag you and we show up some of your work. We are in partnerships with, not really overt partnerships, but we work very closely with Tembea Kisumu. And one of the founders is here, Laura. Private sector deciding, I can see what the government is doing. How about I propel them further? Every restaurant is on her page. Every hotel, I see the people from Street Food. There's a new entity that also opened up the other day. City Food, yeah? So people are coming up, investors are coming up, like Laura, saying, can we run alongside you? And then I'm saying, run and even supersede us. Take your niche and run with it. Talking to the water bus, people talk to us about why are there no cruises on Lake Victoria? And we're saying, because we need an investor. And we're saying, water bus is here. They started off as a vessel transporting people from location A to B. And now they've gone into hosting on their vessels and building new ones. And so corporates will be able to come to Kisumu, and you don't have to host your function in a hotel. You can have a function on the lake with your corporate guests, or a wedding, or you're proposing, or whatever the thing is. So again, I thank that partnership and for what you're doing. We also work very closely with TRA, Tourism Regulatory Authority. My colleague is here, Lillian Ayimba. We work with her very, very closely as we try to shape Afri-cities. Now, what does that mean? Hotels in Kisumu are not enough for the number of guests I'm going to have. And so, that's number one. Number two is, have they been rated? Do we know them? Are they star rated? So hotels tend to hide under the radar because they don't want to pay tax, not necessarily in Kisumu, but across country and the world. But now, if you want to be registered as part of the Afri-Cities Conference, for example, or even today for the Kisumu Investment Conference, Lillian's organization, TRA, must come to your property, assess it, and rate it. Star rating, 5-star, 2-star, 3-star, etc. Or a minimum audit. And for the period of 1 year, I think it's 1 year, Lillian, I don't know if it's a year or 6 months, you're giving us, any hotelier, a concession. So they don't have to pay the full amount so that they can be registered. Now, once you're registered, you show up on the Afri-Cities website. Guests can book directly to stay with you. So we're slowly, I think we're quite firmly on our path to shaping this city to greatness. Having an investment conference like this is day one. We will be doing this every year going forward. We also want to introduce non-motorized transportation. For example, within the CBD, we will be closing Kisumu CBD in time. There's a city manager in charge in Kisumu, so that it becomes a pedestrian city, so that people are walking and exercising. We're aggressive, the Ministry of Environment, on afforestation. It's going to be a big thing for them. Kisumu is very hot, tree cover is low. We're pushing that agenda. So we're looking for investors in helping us shape our cultural heritage sites. Kitmikai, Luanda Magere. We're looking for private sectors who want private sector corporations who want their name on there and can then shape and model it. I don't just come climb Kitmikai and come down, listen to the traditional dancer, understand the history, but I have an experience. I spend more money while I'm on the ground. Non-motorized transportation is a big thing that the governor is pushing, and we are hoping to see that in the next year to come, a year and beyond to come. I've touched on a few things. Sports infrastructure, we're big on that. Together with the national government, we built the Jomo Kenyatta International Stadium. Why? So that we can host local, regional, and international sports fixtures. Because it stops in Nairobi. Beyond coming this way to Western Kenya, there is no international stadium. So that's why we went for that. As a county, we're also building our own Moi Stadium. Minimum funds is always the problem, so you have to do it year by year, doing a bit as you go. In the CBD, we have the Jomo Kenyatta Sports Ground. It changed its name. It's now Jomo Kenyatta Sports Ground. No, it's called Jaramogi Odinga Sports Grounds. And in there, it has been closed for a year. It's being refurbished. Basketball, volleyball, football, and conference facilities and walkways, so that within the CBD, you have a place to relax. Some of the things we are trying to do. And I'm hoping that when we close this session, I can, tomorrow on Wednesday, when we close the conference, be able to say that out of the tourism, culture, and sports dealing room, we've got a contract or a potential contract with Odessa and Kisumu. We've got Strathmore doing this, and anybody else in the room, so that we actually show that we're actually moving upwards. I hope that helps. Thank you.
Serious deliverables, eh? We want to get that. Now, I think this is good, and having spoken, I think you've summarized a lot of things that you are doing and introduced us to who is who here, who is doing what with who, and I think that's great. There is an area we have not focused on. I know you did talk about it. Professor Bange made reference to it. I mentioned the fact that Ken Otieno will be talking to it, and I know Philip Oyo is here, who is also interested in the issues of sports and sports museum and whatnot, and how this can be commodified and becomes a center for attraction for tourists. So I think I should give Ken to just speak to the sporting activities that are within Kisumu and what you've done. Then we'll ask Mr. Philip Oyo to actually also just say something about the monument you have in mind. And as we do this, please, I know there are investors here who have a lot of money in their pocket and they're wondering what to do with it. Listen to these ideas and just put the money on the table. Sorry? Just to guide them on sports? On investment in general. Why don't they just speak first, then you ask? You will be then the first person to speak after the two of them. Thank you very much. A microphone to Mr. Ken. Here, there is. Karibu, Director.
Thank you, Dr. Prof. Thank you, Prof. Waziri has talked largely around all the issues we are engaged in terms of sports, culture, and tourism development. But I will speak to one or two things which we think we need to lay emphasis on, and then I will hand over to Philip Oyo to speak specifically to the issue of sports museum, which he has persuaded us to embrace and which we think is a great idea. First of all, I want to speak directly to your question, what the county has done in terms of sports development and the opportunities therein. Now, I want to mention that first and foremost, the county, in a bid to address issues around sports development and in recognition of the huge potential in sports, has created two directorates to address sporting matters. One of the directorates is called Sports and Talent Development, and the other is called Sports Infrastructure Development, and that is the directorate where I serve at the moment. Now, in terms of sports infrastructural development, we recognize the huge gap in terms of availability of sports infrastructure in Kisumu. In fact, as Waziri put it, this region has for a long time been lacking in sports infrastructure that is of international standard. And so we have missed out in hosting many international games, whether in football, athletics, or hockey, and other games where we do very well. Now, what have we done to address this? Waziri has already talked about the partnership with the national government, which has ensured that now we have a new stadium called Jomo Kenyatta International Stadium. Jomo Kenyatta International Stadium, which was opened a few months ago, is going to address the huge gap that we had in terms of football stadia in this region. In fact, for a while, with the current state of Moi Stadium, we have had to take our matches to Kakamega and Kisii counties, and that is sad because, like somebody mentioned here, most talent, again, is within Kisumu, but Kakamega and Kisii went ahead of us and developed their stadium, but now we have caught up and we are able to complement those facilities. So going forward, Kisumu will be able to host international football matches and of course athletics. In fact, for a long time, there was no athletics track in the whole of this, in Kisumu actually. But now with a new stadium, we can now host athletics in Kisumu. We are focused on developing athletics in Kisumu because we have potential, especially in the short races. And that has largely been left untapped because of lack of that facility. But now we are on course. Secondly, as Waziri has mentioned, we are also on course in refurbishing Moi Stadium. This has dragged on a while, but now we are firmly on course, and in the next 2 or so months, work on the facility is going to begin. But that will take a bit of time, and we need partnerships in that area. Refurbishment of Kisumu Moi Stadium is projected to cost about 1.3 billion. That is huge money, and the county government is looking forward to partnerships in a PPP kind of arrangement to develop that facility. But we have already put in seed money to ensure that work begins, and that will happen on an annual basis. Other than the two premier facilities that I've mentioned, we have also annually focused on development of other sports infrastructure across the 7 sub-counties. Many of these are community football pitches, which serve to develop talent in the periphery as we seek to nurture and promote this talent to the national stage and of course international stage. So that work is also ongoing. We have also been informed about the developments around Jomo Kenyatta, now Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Sports and Recreational Center. I suppose that's the name, if I get it correctly. The development of that facility is very important to us because that is the only facility where we have a public hockey pitch. And hockey, this region, Kisumu County, is big on hockey, but that has been hampered by the lack of a pitch. Now, with the development of that facility, we will not only have developed the hockey pitch, but the football pitch, basketball, netball, and other indoor games facilities. Going forward, because we know we lack in this area, and we are seeking support in this area too, that Kisumu County actually does not have an indoor sports arena that is capable of hosting indoor games. Many of our indoor games have had to rely on makeshift facilities, which does not do justice to the development of those sports. So we are also seeking partnerships in the development of one national indoor sport arena to ensure that that gap is sealed. Now, in a nutshell, those are the developments we are doing around infrastructure. But I want to talk about sports talent development because that's also key, and I will talk about that briefly. We are focused on the training and development of sports trainers or sports instructors, because the talent is there, but this talent needs to be identified, nurtured at an early age by trained instructors, because that is when this talent will be able to compete favorably with the best of the best in the world. And in this respect, we have organized for annual training of our coaches and trainers and even referees in different sporting aspects, and we think in this way we will have come in to the development of sports talent at an early age in a more focused manner. We are also aware of the huge, really lack, not even deficiency, lack of a sports academy, and I heard one of us mention this is something we are keen on, and the county government has already provided land for the development of a sports academy. All we need is partnership so that this can be achieved. I will not go beyond that in regards to sports. Of course, I will be allowing my brother Philip to talk about the sports museum, but I wanted to mention something so that I do not have to stand up again and speak about it, because it's something I'm passionate about and it's something we have discussed a lot in our area, and this has got to do with a Kisumu Peace Monument. That, of course, you realize is not sports, but the county government of Kisumu is keen on the construction of what we are calling a Kisumu Peace Monument. Now, why Kisumu Peace Monument? Many of you who are about my age or older know